This is your News Source Evening Bulletin for today, Wednesday, the 26th day of June in the year 2024. I'm Gordon Mosley reporting. Now here's what we're tracking tonight. As 10 new judges took their oath of office today to serve on the bench at the Supreme Court, President Irfan Ali urged the new justices to not be persuaded by their emotions of public opinions when giving their judgments, but rather they should focus on the law and the facts before them. Addressing the new judges at his office just after their swearing-in, the president encouraged the new judges to strive at all times to ensure that their rulings can withstand scrutiny.
Also, in your profession, your judgment and writing must withstand academic scrutiny and historical scrutiny. I said it's fortunate or unfortunate, but it is a fact that in your discipline, what you do must be able to withstand this scrutiny. And of course, in the judiciary too, as systems change, the public court, as many will refer to, is also out there. But as I said, your character and your separation of personal feeling must also allow you to separate public sentiments sometimes from what you write.
The 10 new judges have been appointed at a time when there is a backlog of cases in the High Court. Last year, the Judicial Service Commission, just after its appointment, publicly advertised the vacancies for the judges and selected 10 after a long selection process. 37 persons applied for the positions.
For those who are judges and representing their clients, not judges, lawyers, and representing your clients, you always looked out for what was the best interest of your clients. Today, you're called on, as the oath would suggest, to separate personal sentiments in dealing with judgment in cases that are before you.
And the president also urged the judges to be leaders on the bench, telling them that their work should enhance jurisprudence not only here in Guyana, but throughout the region.
The legal community and the judiciary is looked up to in a special way because what you do in this profession, especially as judges, the way you write and the way you rule is not only for the moment in time. It constitutes precedence. And if you do what you're called upon to do with a great sense of responsibility, with critical thinking, with the full application of the law, with transparency and openness, then what you do forms precedents. And those precedents are things that keep the judicial system going.
The 10 new judges are Nicola Pierre, Priscilla Chandra Hanif, Zamila Ali Sipol, Sherdal Isaacs Marcus, Hisan Yassin, Peter Hugh, Joy Prasad Singh, Nigel Niles, Deborah Kumar Chetty, and Jacqueline Josiah Graham. More news coming up in just a moment.
It's one of your biggest goals, getting your own home, where memories are made, where happiness lives. You may feel that home ownership or renovation is beyond your reach, but we at Republic want you to know that there's always a way. Ask us about our suite of mortgages. Let's help make your housing wishes come true. or advise on how the equity in your existing home can finance other dreams and goals. Call or go online to learn more.
Guyana's most fashionable event heads to New York City this Labor Day Sunday.
Wine, 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 soca and wine, soca and wine, soca and wine.
Soca and Wine Tropical Escape NYC edition. Let's escape to a place where everyone's free to express themselves through fashion and music with an atmosphere that creates a colorful paradise. Soca and Wine Tropical Escape New York edition. Sunday, 1st September at Brooklyn Boardwalk. Super early bird tickets, $60 USD. Tropical vibes by Boom FM, Fusion DJs, and more to be added. Brought to you by Hits and Jams Entertainment. Tropical Escape NYC edition.
Today marked the start of conciliation talks between the Guyana Teachers Union and the Education Ministry, but with the government through the Education Ministry maintaining that it cannot facilitate retroactive increases dating back to 2019. The union may very well have to decide whether it's prepared to relinquish its 2019 and 2023 multi-year proposal. Outside of the Ministry of Labor today, President of the GTU, Mark Light, said there are decisions to be made.
That's a matter for our membership to give us. We've had some talks and there are mixed views on it. So we are prepared to have a consensus. Whatever the members want us to do, that's what the officers will carry through. But we now have a mandate to go back to them and say, look, this is the position.
Light, along with a number of his executives, met with the Chief Education Officer Saddam Hussein and other officials from the Education Ministry. He said the conciliation talks are intended to hammer out the time frame for a multi-year financial package for teachers within the public sector. But no agreement was reached at today's meeting.
Today we had the first day of conciliation where both sides met to officially kickstart the conciliation period. As you know, we have approximately 21 days based on our grievance document, and we would have utilized today to try to flesh out clause number 7, which is predominantly based on the time frame. As you are aware, GTU is consistently saying 2019, 2023. The government is saying 2024 and forward. So both sides would have met today on the position. There hasn't been any agreement on the time frame.
Ahead of today's meeting, the union, in a spirit of compromise, had signaled its willingness to alter its proposal to include 2 years from each side. But that proposal has not found favor with the government either. Light said a number of alternative time frames were placed on the table today, but the government remained unmoved. The union, he said, will now have to make some critical decisions moving forward.
Well, all of that was on the table since the commencement. We spoke about 21, 23, we spoke about 22, 25. 2 years on our side, 2 years on their side. But we have been hearing government saying repeatedly that they can't go back, they can only go forward. So the union has some decisions to make where that is concerned.
The union president said in the interim the two sides have agreed to communicate via email to hammer out a possible time frame. Mr. Light said once the time frame is agreed on, the union and the education ministry will then negotiate particulars of the financial proposals, such as salary increases and other financial and non-financial benefits. However, if there is no agreement at the end of the 21-day period, the process will then move to arbitration. But according to Light, even arbitration has its own challenges. The GTU and the Education Ministry agreed to commence the process of conciliation today, after agreeing last week to the terms of resumption, which effectively brought the nationwide strike by teachers to an end. Well, even with questions from some candidates about the credibility of the membership list heading into this weekend's Congress and elections of the People's National Congress reform, the party's Congress Administrator Sherwin Benjamin today said the process will be transparent. As part of the Congress, delegates will vote for a number of leadership positions in the party, including the position of leader, chairman, vice chairman, and the treasurer. Before resigning as the party's general secretary earlier this week, Dawn Hastings Williams expressed some concern about the credibility of the list heading into the elections. However, while assuring that all systems are in place for the Congress and elections, the administrator today said many of the concerns raised are misplaced and would have little impact on the upcoming elections.
Well, I'm not sure any elections being held in Guyana or more over the world can be seen as free and fair. There are certain benchmarks. I think the margin of error in respect of what has transpired in the process are minimal. I indicated to you, I think earlier, that the persons who are making these complaints do not understand the internal procedures of the party. We at the Congress Committee have, from the onset, operated a very tight ship, and the information, I think it's more as a result of not understanding the process. I don't think persons want the Congress Committee to go on the ground to tell them groups to meet, groups to round robin. Those are issues that have to be dealt with at the group level, the group and regional and district level. I don't think in the main it can cast a dark cloud over the overall transparency of the elections.
Mr. Benjamin admitted that before stepping away from her position as General Secretary, Mrs. Hastings Williams completed many of the critical tasks as Congress facilitator.
General Secretary of the party historically has played a role of Congress facilitator. Her job, or the person's job, is basically to facilitate the Congress Committee by providing information and provide liaison support between the committee and the Secretariat. Critical to that was the provision of the official list to the Congress Committee. That was done so that the list of delegates can be extracted. We have received the list and we have started the extraction process. A preliminary list is up and is sent to the various groups through the regions. To answer in short, I don't think her resignation will have a diverse effect on the holding of the Congress.
The PNCR's Congress is expected to hear a report from the General Secretary. With no one in that position at the moment, it is unclear who may be identified for the role at this weekend's Congress. However, Benjamin said he is unclear who will present the report of the General Secretary now that Hastings Williams has resigned. He assured, however, that a report on the work of the party between 2021 and the present date will be presented by the Secretariat. As many as 2,000 delegates are set to attend and vote at the elections.
I can say definitively that in respect of Region 1, I spoke with the persons there, and they are aware that transportation in terms of getting them here will be done through either air or the boat. And to the best of my knowledge, they are fully aware that transportation is provided. I have a brief from Region 9 that persons have already started traveling via the route. and some persons will be flown in as well.
The Congress opens on Friday and will conclude just after the elections on Sunday.
NYC, New York City. Get ready as the original Big People Party with the same vibes you've seen and loved comes to you this Labor Day weekend on Saturday, August 31st with some of the biggest one-man bands out of Guyana and New York. Look out for Super A, Murphy, Busta, and Super Terry. Big People Party! Along with the legendary Glenn Washington.
Baby, don't take my kindness for weakness. If loving you is wrong,
Glenn Washington.
I don't wanna be right.
Glenn Washington and his band at Industry City, New York City. Get your super early bird general tickets at $40 and VIP access $150 all inclusive. And all are available at hjexperience.com. This event is brought to you by Hits and Jams Entertainment, Marvelous Entertainment, and GD Events. It's the original Big People Party at Industry City, New York City on Saturday, August 31st. The big and proper edition.
Mobil 1 is more than oil. It's many oils. It transforms at the molecular level. When cold, it's thicker than honey. When hot, it's thinner than water. Mobil 1 adapts and readapts to last longer. 16,000 kilometers between oil changes. That's your engine evolved.
Sol Guyana is the authorized distributor of Mobil lubricants.
Let's tell you now that the Audit Office of Guyana has launched a probe into contracts issued by the Public Works Ministry for the supply of Aggregate. The Minister of Public Works, Juan Edgel, has confirmed that the investigation is on the way. The issue was recently brought to light after reports surfaced that one of the contracted suppliers who benefited from sole sourcing might have provided aggregate material that is not usable. In a statement last evening, the Works Ministry noted that since the current government took office, it has been fast-tracking its development agenda, which placed a demand on local aggregate, in particular stone and crusher run, which saw prices being bumped up over time. The ministry went on to explain that in an effort to understand the capacity of the current market, the government met with several noted local aggregate providers and quarrying companies to ascertain their capacity and logistical challenges. And that meeting took place back in 2020, while contractors were also given the opportunity to import aggregate materials in an effort to meeting the demand and keeping the rate competitive. The ministry said it was realized that the local market could not service the demand sufficiently at the time, and as a result, severe price increases were experienced. In November 2022, the ministry went out to tendering for the supply of aggregate, but it claimed that there were still shortages, and it made a decision to single-source contracts. The ministry said the government engaged 8 suppliers for sole sourcing contracts. It is that process that is now triggering both an internal and external investigation into the awarding of those contracts. The Ministry of Public Works believes that it had to intervene since there was an outcry in the construction and associated sectors over the high prices for aggregates. There are reports that hundreds of millions of dollars in contracts were handed out through the single-source method. A company headed by a former ExxonMobil executive, Jesus Brunchalo, has been selected to assist the governments of Guyana and ExxonMobil Guyana to develop Guyana's natural gas plan. But the government has brushed aside concerns of a potential conflict of interest. The The Natural Resources Ministry in a statement explained that it has set an evaluation team to conduct a detailed evaluation on the 17 proposals based on the technical and administrative submissions received. According to the ministry, the company Fulcrum LNG, the US-based company owned by the former Exxon executive, was deemed the most responsive compliant bidder and ranked number 1, followed by Sinuk Power and Gas Group, which was ranked number 2, and the consortium of local and international companies, which was ranked at number 3. The ministry said as such, Fulcrum LNG will be supporting the government and the Stabroek Block operator ExxonMobil Guyana to utilize the non-associated gas, serving as an independent development. According to the government, Fulcrum LNG's submission was detailed and comprehensive and outlined a structured approach to gas development. Hence, the evaluators were satisfied based on the submission of its competency, which resulted in the company being ranked number 1. The ministry explained that the evaluation report was then submitted to the cabinet with no objection, and after the deliberation and examination, the report was granted no objection for the Fulcrum company to be engaged. The ministry also said it later engaged both the company and ExxonMobil to begin the process. The ministry said the government has taken note of the questions of conflict of interest, but noted that at the time of the evaluation, Mr. Brinchalo's involvement in Fulcrum was known, and his previous relationship with ExxonMobil was not seen as presenting any conflict of interest, since he had severed all ties with that company. The Natural Resources Ministry said the Guyana government has every intention of advancing in the most transparent manner possible the development of the infrastructure needed to harness the country's gas resources in the interest of national development and to the benefit of the Guyanese people. The company is just 1 year old. A health alert to report now. The Government Analyst Food and Drug Department has issued an urgent consumer alert about fake batches of Ozempic that may be possibly on the local market. In a statement, the department said its alert is based on information provided by the World Health Organization regarding 3 falsified batches of Ozempic. Ozempic is a drug to treat diabetes, which has also been found to lead to weight loss. The statement noted that the falsified products have been detected in Brazil, the US, and the United Kingdom, and were supplied within regulated supply chains. Guyana is among the countries that may be affected by the distribution of the fake medication. The batch carrying the number LP6F832 is not recognized, and additionally the combination of batch number NAR0074 with serial number 430834149057 does not correspond to genuine manufacturing records. The statement also said batch number MP5E511 is genuine, but the product is false. The use of falsified Ozempic may result in ineffective treatment of patients due to incorrect dosage, contamination with harmful substances, or use of unknown or substituted ingredients. It poses serious health risks because of its injection administration, which could be life-threatening, the release said. The Government Food and Drug Analyst Department also reminded that Ozempic is not registered in Guyana and therefore should not be marketed locally. Consumers are being reminded that it is unsafe to use an unregistered medicine that has not been given the green light and approvals by the Government Analyst and Food Drug Department. Healthcare professionals and the general public are being encouraged to report any suspected cases of adverse events related to the use of the medicine to the Government Analyst Food and Drug Department.
Look at the breathtaking beauty of the Essequibo, from its pristine rivers to its abundant resources. It's a treasure that belongs to Guyana, and we ask Venezuela to respect the rule of international law.
Our commitment to this land is not just about ownership. It's about preserving its beauty and resources for our people and future generations.
The controversy between Guyana and Venezuela was settled internationally as full, perfect, and final in 1899. Essequibo belongs to Guyana.
Guyana's economy is rapidly transforming, and we're all part of it. Guy is at the forefront of this development by providing reliable and efficient energy and supporting community development from the very core. 100% of Guyana's profit goes back to building schools, roads, and other important infrastructure that connects our cities and towns, providing fuel to domestic, marine, industrial, and aerial transportation. Guy Oil has now repositioned itself as a market leader in the petroleum industry, building a better future for all of us.
It's one of your biggest goals, getting your own home, where memories are made, where happiness lives. You may feel that home ownership or renovation is beyond your reach, but we at Republic want you to know that there's always a way. Ask us about our suite of mortgages. Let's help make your housing wishes come true, or advise on how the equity in your existing home can finance other dreams and goals. Call or go online to learn more.
Bust the flavors. We're full of flavors. Bust the flavors, that my crave for. We're full of flavors. Tell your neighbors about the bust the flavors. Grab a bust the flavors. Yeah, thirst buster. Grab a buster. Bust the flavor, taste the savor. Bust the flavors. Bust the flavors.
With your regional and international news tonight, I'm Svetlana Marshall in the region. Former Honduran President Juan Orlando Hernandez was sentenced by a U.S. judge on Wednesday to 4 to 5 years in prison for his conviction on drug and firearm offenses, according to Reuters. A Manhattan jury in March found Hernandez, 55, guilty of accepting millions of dollars in bribes to protect U.S.-bound cocaine shipments belonging to traffickers he once publicly proclaimed to combat. U.S. District Judge Kevin Castell handed down the sentence at a hearing in a Manhattan federal court. Hernandez had faced a mandatory minimum sentence of 40 years in prison. Federal prosecutors had urged a life sentence, arguing it would send a message to other traffickers and their accomplices in government. Without corruption, politicians like the defendant, the kind of large-scale international drug trafficking at issue in this case, and the rampant drug-related violence that follows is difficult, if not impossible, prosecutors wrote on Monday. Hernandez led Honduras, a U.S. ally in Central America, from 2014 to 2022. In a series of coordinated raids conducted over the weekend, law enforcement agencies in the Dominican Republic's Santiago province uncovered significant drug operation. The operations, based on intelligence reports, targeted a number of areas, resulting in multiple arrests and the seizure of substantial amounts of illegal substances. During the raids, the authorities discovered approximately 545 pounds of suspected marijuana in a residence, packaged in 110 bales. Additionally, 19 smaller portions of marijuana were found, along with other drugs. The operation also led to the seizure of various assets potentially linked to the drug trafficking activities, including 10 vehicles, 8 cell phones, a firearm, a scale, 331,550 pesos in cash, and personal documents. 3 Dominican nationals were arrested in connection with the raids, while law enforcement agencies continue to pursue other members of the criminal network. And finally tonight, international news. WikiLeaks founder Julian Assange has landed back home in his native Australia after a plea deal allowed him to walk free from a London prison, according to the BBC. There were emotional scenes at the airport as the WikiLeaks founder kissed his wife and hugged his father, his lawyers watching on visibly moved. Julian needs time to recover, to get used to freedom, Stella Assange said at a news conference shortly after her husband arrived. For the past 14 years, Assange has been in a legal battle with U.S. officials who accuse him of leaking classified documents, which they say put lives in danger. The 52-year-old did not attend the news conference, instead letting his lawyer and wife speak for him. The plea deal saw Julian Assange plead guilty to one charge of conspiracy to obtain and disclose national defense information, rather than the 18 he was originally facing. The case centered around a massive WikiLeaks disclosure in 2010, when the website released a video from a U.S. military helicopter which showed civilians being killed in the Iraqi capital, Baghdad. It also published thousands of confidential documents suggesting that the U.S. military had killed hundreds of civilians in unreported incidents during the war in Afghanistan. The revelations became a huge story, prompting a reaction from all corners of the globe and led to intense scrutiny of American involvement in foreign conflicts.
And that's your News Source Evening Bulletin for tonight. I'm Svetlana Marshall reporting and encouraging you to stay safe.